Welcome back, class. Today we're going to go over connect curves. So we're going to be creating connect curves. Okay, similar to our last video where we did the corners. Okay, so very similar, just some differences here. Okay, so when we create curves, connect curves, think of these high voltage cables. So here we have our tower. And as you can see, these cables, if they keep going, obviously they do, the shape we get is a conic shape, similar to maybe a hyperbolic shape. Okay, so we're going to be connecting curves from one tower to another, basically. And notice how it just naturally, due to gravity, right, the cable creates its own shape due to its own properties, whether it's metal or whether it's string, right? So based on its properties and on gravity, it's going to grab a natural shape. Okay, so keep that in mind as we're creating our connect curves. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the file, connect curve. Open the file. Okay, so imagine that these green lines are the towers. So we're going to connect from one tower to another. So just imagine these are towers and we're going to connect them with cables. And we're going to have control over the cables. Okay, so once again, just imagine the cables. There's gravity pulling on it, and there's also tension, right? So this tower's pulling on it in this direction. The other tower is pulling on it in the opposite direction. So these cables are in tension, right? You're pulling on the cable, trying to keep it as straight as possible, but you have gravity to fight, and that's why it's creating that conic shape. All right, so same as a jump rope. Okay, same idea. Gravity's pulling on it, creating that conic shape. All right, so we're going to be connecting the lines, and we have points there. They're hard to see. Let me highlight them. There's the points, 3 points. Go ahead and change the color. Okay, so there we have the 3 points. Okay, let's create our own geoset. Oh, I accidentally inserted the original set. So when I did it on the fly real quick, I accidentally chose to make it a parent of the existing geoset. I could always fix it by just dragging it out. I'm going to take this and just drag it out. Drop it at the top of the tree. There it is. It's dragged out. It's no longer part of my new set. Okay, let me change the order. You can always do reorder. And move my geo down at the bottom. There it is. Okay, and let's give it some color. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to be connecting the green lines that were provided to us. And we're going to create our own curves, just like the cables and the towers. All right, and we're going to use the points for the connection. All right, so imagine like you're clamping it down at these points. All right, so let's go over to the drop down, look for circle or corner. It's going to be the third option, connect curve. So very similar to corner, but it's going to allow us to do some extra things that we couldn't do at corner using the corner command. All right, so okay, just like our previous video corner, we're going to select our 2 curves or our 2 lines. Okay, so let's go with normal first. And for our first curve, so we have our first curve information and our second curve information. So for our first curve, okay, so I'm going to select the curve first, and then I'll go back to the point. Order doesn't matter. So I'm going to select this curve. And for my point, from my clamping point, I'm going to select this point, obviously. Okay, so now let's go to our second section here to define our second line and point. So for curve, so again, we are in the second curve area. Okay, we'll select this curve. And for our point, we'll select this point. It's already given us a preview, as you can see, right? So again, imagine like this is a metal cable. You're trying to shape it, you're trying to control it. Okay, we can also change direction. Let's see what happens when I click reverse on this first one. Click reverse. See what we get. Go back to reverse. Let's go to the second one and click on reverse. Okay, so depending on which way you're shaping it, also think of a thin ruler. So a wooden ruler or a metal ruler, you're trying to shape it by grabbing the ends and you're applying a bend to it, trying to get an arc out of it, and you're trying to shape it. Same idea. Okay, so the difference between this and corner is that we can play with the tension. So see here we have T equals 1. That's the tension. So imagine you're pulling on that cable. So if you have a jump rope and two people stand at opposite ends and they pull on the jump rope, you're trying to make it horizontal and straight. Okay, or imagine those heavy ropes in the gymnasiums, people that are using the ropes to bulk up, right? And if you pull on these heavy ropes, two different people, I mean, they're so heavy and it's hard to pull on them, but it will create a natural conic shape. Okay, so we're gonna play with the tension just like two people pulling on a rope. Just imagine it's a steel rope, right? Or a heavy rope that you see in a gym. All right, so we can play with the tension. We can increase the tension by pulling on it. So you can see I can increase the tension. And also imagine like you're flying a kite. So it's a windy day outside, it's nice and sunny, you go to the park and you're flying a kite and you can see the curvature on the string. Gravity's pulling on it, you're pulling on it, and the kite that's trying to fly away is pulling on it too. So imagine that. Just imagine you're pulling on the string. The kite is trying to fly away, so it's pulling in the opposite direction. And there's also gravity pulling on it. Same idea. Okay, so we can increase the tension, decrease it. Okay, so I want you to look at the options here. Continuity. So I've been mentioning continuity. And I will create a whole lecture and video just on continuity. Okay, so let's look at the options. Continuity. So we have point continuity. So let's see what point continuity looks like. It should give me a sharp corner. Let's see point continuity. So this one, there it is, sharp corner. If you go to the other one here, point continuity, and it disappeared. Let me see if I add tension to it. Let me see if I reverse it. Oh, there it is. Okay, thought I lost it. Okay, so we're using point continuity. Now the reason for connect curve is to add a tangent or curvature continuity. So chances are you will never use point continuity as an option, but it's there. Okay, so let's go to this first one and go from point continuity to tangency. Let me take off trim. Okay, turn off trim. All right, so let's go to the other one, do the same thing for this one. We're going to go with tangent continuity. Okay, that looks cleaner. And let's reverse it, see what happens. Okay, so this is tangent continuity. Obviously, it's going in the wrong direction, so we can always reverse it. Okay, so tangent, think of a nice round corner like on a table or your desk. You're either going to have a sharp corner, which is point continuity, but if you add a nice round radius, that'll be tangent continuity. Now you can go further and improve visually on that corner by making it look more like a hyperbolic shape, a conic shape. So that'll be curvature continuity. So instead of having a transition from a straight to an arc and having a tangent point, it's going to smooth that out. So you can't really tell where it goes from a straight to a curve. Obviously, when it's tangency, you'll see where the tangent point is. You'll see the straight line, and all of a sudden you have an arc. But by adding curvature, it smooths it out, so it's difficult to tell the difference between the straight and the curve where it starts. All right, so let's go to curvature continuity. See how it flattened out a little bit? We're going to do the same thing at the top. We're going to go from tangent, continuity to curvature in 3, 2, 1. See, it smooths it out even more, so it's hard to tell where the tangent point starts, right? Okay, so we're getting rid of that tangency area by flattening it out a little bit more and then allow it to curve. Okay, what happens when we flip it? Reverse it. There it is. We can add tension to it, add more tension to it, less tension. Okay, let's reverse it. And that's way too much tension. See how it's dropping below? I just have way too much tension and it's dropping below. Okay, so based on how much you're pulling on it, it'll change the shape, but it'll give you a nice conic shape. Okay, and this is used a lot in automotive and also in aerodynamics for aircraft and also automotive. Okay, now if you want to trim the excess, let's see if it'll allow us to trim the excess. Trim, preview. And let's hit OK, see what I get. Okay, it did trim it. Okay, so it removed the excess. So now we have 3 curves and it's in the wrong geoset. So let me go ahead and left mouse click, drag it into the correct geoset. And click and space to deselect. There it is. Okay, so this is a nice clean connection between these 3. So we created a curve that trimmed off the excess and it blended all 3. It's a nice smooth transition. Let me turn off the points. Let me turn off the whole geoset, the master or existing geoset. Okay, so you can barely see these little white dots. Let's double click on this. Let's go from curvature back to tangency. And okay. Okay, so see, it's a lot easier to see the arc where it ends and where the straight line starts when we have tangency option. We can see the little 2 white dots letting us know it's 3 separate elements, but it's all joined into one. So once again, the trim option removes excess and then it joins what's left over. Okay, so if we go back to curvature, you're going to see how it cleans it up. Go back to curvature and same thing at the top. So it smooths it out, so it's hard to tell where the arc, or my mistake, the curve starts with respect to the line. Okay. And okay. Okay, so that's the first part of the tutorial. Let's move on to the next part. Okay, so we did normal. Okay, we're going to use base curve. See if I missed anything on this one. Okay, so we did normal. Now let's do a base curve. And let's see what we get. Okay, so let's take a look at base curve. So actually forgot the difference between the two, so I'm quickly reading over. Now let's find out. Let's go back. Let's turn on the original geometry. Show. We can always go back and turn on the other green lines. Go into the background and we can show it. All right, so let's do it again. Okay, so connect curve. And this time, let's try a different one. Let's try these two. Actually, I don't have a point on this one, so let's do these two. Okay, so let's go base curve. Okay, so we have our first curve and our second curve. So for the first curve, I'm going to pick this one. Okay, so let's pick this one. And for our point, obviously we're going to pick this one. Now let's go to the second curve area. Go to the vertical and pick our next point. Okay, and let's see, what else do I need? Select the base curve. Okay, so we need to select a curve for our base. I'm just gonna pick one. I'll pick this one. Okay, this is starting to come back to me. Let's see what happens if I pick this one, see if it accepts it as our base curve. So we need to select a base curve. Okay, so let's select this one, see what happens. Okay, so it's using this curve to help shape our new curve. Okay, so notice we can add continuity, tension on this one because we went with base curve. So the shape is being controlled by this line. Okay, so we're not adding any tension, and we're not changing it from tangency to curvature continuity. It's just naturally curving based on our two lines and our base curve. Okay, so imagine like it's going tangent at this point. If we were to move this line over here, and this would be another connection here where it's tangent to it. Okay, let's change our base curve. Okay, so I'm going to base curve and replace this line with the new one. Let's see what happens if I pick this one. See, so now it's shaping itself with respect to this one. Gives us a different shape. Let me hit reverse. It's not doing anything on reverse. Nope. So seems like this line is controlling that shape, right? Let's change the base curve to this one. So let me go back to base curve and pick this one. Oh, it seems to like that one, similar to the first one. Okay, so we can use other elements to help shape that curve. So you can see it's flatter towards the top. All right, so there it is. Let me go back and double click and say, hey, remove trim option. And okay, and there's our shape, slightly different from our other one, as you can see. All right, I don't use base curve. I use the other one where I want to control the tension. Okay, so the first one that we did, we have control over the tension, how much we can pull on it, right? Like pulling on a string on a kite. Or if two of you are at the gym and you're pulling on this heavy rope, right? These thick 4-inch rope diameter. I don't know if I'm exaggerating, and you're trying to pull on it and you're fighting each other like tug of war, right? Okay, so that's the one I use the most, and I typically want to go with curvature continuity so I can smooth it out. It's a nice, beautiful transition from one curve to another, or linear line or linear curve to a curve and back to linear. And we can turn off the trim option if we want, right? We can turn it off. All right, so let's go back. And I think we covered everything on this one. Let's try this one. Before we end it, let's see what happens when we choose this option. Actually, we did try this option. Let me duplicate what we see here. Okay, so actually we already did this operation, except I'm going to change its shape. I'm going to reverse it to get this and see what happens when I trim off. Okay, so let's go back to the original one. Let me hide this one. Actually, I can leave it. Okay, so let me go back and double click on this one, our first curve, and I'm going to reverse it. Wrong one, let's go to the other one. So reverse again, let's go to the other one, reverse. Okay, let's see what happens when we trim. So this looks now like the visual. And trim. And okay. There it is. Let me hide that one. Okay, so now something like this, you typically don't do, right? You want something more like this. Here where it reverses direction. It's very rare you want to do something like this. 99% of the time you want to do something like this one. Okay, so this one is going over and it changes direction, right? Okay, so we were able to duplicate what's on the tutorial here. Okay, let's do this one also. Okay, so we're going to reverse the other one now. So let's go back and reverse the top one. This one here, my mistake, this one. And let's see if it accepts it. And yep, we're able to duplicate what's on the tutorial. All right, so save your work. We're going to stop here. Add your initials and place it on your flash drive or folder on your desktop. All right, so that's the end of this video.